right, everybody. That was Jeff Pitchell's Fat Cigar you were listening to, and that means it's time for not just blowing smoke. Coming at you live from Twin Smoke Shop Studio Headquarters in sunny, thank God, Hooksett, New Hampshire. Be sure to subscribe to us right here on Facebook and YouTube, and also on Podbean, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, iTunes, Google, basically wherever it's possible for you to get a podcast. I am Pastor Padron, and I'm here with my co-host Nick and Dave. Paul is off tonight, and we're looking at cigars and tobacco with British ties and inspiration. And to start us off, we are joined by Mr. Nicaragua himself, Nick Melillo of Foundation Cigars.
Woo. Guys, great to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm not muted, am I?
No, we hear you.
Good. No, that's
thanks for having me.
Well,
great to be here.
It's great to have the Yoda of Broadleaf.
Yoda, that's the first. That's a good one. I do love Broadleaf.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And this is just fantastic. But, before we get into talking about the cigar, you want to tell us a little bit about the cigar itself?
Yeah, sure. Highclere Castle. This is the Victorian. We originally released the Edwardian, which is a Connecticut shade. This is a Habano Ecuador wrapper, right? Okay. Habano Ecuador is, to me, one of the most beautiful wrappers. Ecuador has a very unique climate for growing wrapper tobaccos because during the growing season, there's this very thin layer of cloud cover. So Ecuador's been blessed in the sense that these clouds act as a natural filter of the sun, so the plant's not getting direct sun exposure and produces wrapper grade tobaccos. So, right, it's thinner, the vein structure is thinner. Growing wrapper tobacco is very, very difficult and much different than fillers. So Ecuador is it's just, blessed with this certain climate for growing wrapper styles. And of course, Cuban seed brought to Ecuador. It's grown by the Oliva Tampa family, not the Cigar family, but the infamous Oliva Tampa growing family that goes back to the early 1900s. And I've always worked with Habano Ecuador, behind the scenes, but I never worked on a project that came to market. So this is really my debut Habano Ecuador offering and blend. So it's a very important, beautiful, oily. It's a 7th priming wrapper, meaning it's higher up on the leaf. On the plant positioning in Ecuador because of that sun, right? The lack of direct sun exposure, the plants grow much taller, right?
Yep.
It's like in Connecticut, for Connecticut shade, they grow up to 8-9 feet high, as opposed to filler plants, they're much shorter and stockier, thicker. So it's a 7th priming. It's not quite a Maduro, like really dark. I say cafe Maduro. So it's got that nice coffee kind of dark richness to it. Yeah, just unbelievable. The binder is Matafina Brazil, which is also one of my favorite tobaccos in the world. And this is the only commonality between the Connecticut shade version, the Highclere Edwardian. So they're completely different blends except for the binders. So I found that the Matafina on both blends worked incredibly. Matafina is a darker, richer tobacco also.
Yes.
It's much more difficult to get nowadays because of, we can get into that in more detail if you want to, but between currency exchanges, but mainly also the growing in Matafina Brazil, they haven't gotten a lot of wrapper tobacco, right? So if you're not getting enough wrapper from the crop and you're trying to grow wrapper, the price goes way up because you're not getting a good yield. So it's a more difficult tobacco to get. It's a pricier tobacco, but it's one of my favorite tobaccos in the world, Matafina.
Yeah.
And then the filler, you have a combination of some really great growing regions in Nicaragua, Esteli, of course. Jalapa,
really nice.
The north of Nicaragua, and there's a little bit of Ometepe from the south of Nicaragua. There's 2 lakes. One of them's Lake Nicaragua, and there's 2 volcanic islands. And those volcanic islands produce a very small amount of filler tobaccos that come from that island. So it's very unique growing region, Ometepe. So I think it just really made a super elegant, flavorful blend. It's not over the top in strength.
No,
it's not mild, but it's got a lot of flavor going on.
Would you say it's a like a medium body?
I would say,
or a little stronger than that.
I would say medium plus. You might get some, at the beginning third, a little bit more of a spiciness coming from it. Then it should start to really round out. I would say medium plus. And as you guys know,
dig with that.
It all depends on palates, right? And I'm always kind of surprised sometimes because depending on the palate, how people find the smokes. But I think medium plus is a good range.
Well, the burn on this is amazing. Look at that.
Yeah.
So nice. Waves.
Yeah.
Was razor perfect all the way around the cigar.
Oh, yeah. I just asked mine, which is probably a sin. I shouldn't have done it, but.
Well.
How could you?
I know.
The pastor.
Jesus had to die for things like that. Shame on you.
Give me, Father, for I have sinned.
Now think about it. This is really smooth, very creamy. And you've got this light kind of cocoa kind of flavor, I'm getting in there. Some nice earth, it's very, very good. Just a little bit of spice.
A little bit. I think
picking up some coffee.
I'm picking up a little bit of coffee. It's not funny. But with the Oban, you're getting that a little bit of sweetness in there. And
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, that Oban with that cigar must be.
Yeah, with the I was supposed to pick up Oban 14, and I was like, you know what? We're gonna have Nick Melillo on. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna drink 14 in his presence. So I grabbed 18.
Only
nice
for you, huh?
I was like, I grabbed the 18. It's not that much money, and it's a damn good scotch, and especially with this cigar, it's so good together.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure Nick's thinking that the next time you do that, he should actually be here.
Yeah. You know how you're reading my mind. You're reading my mind over here. Reading my mind.
We're drinking with Nick. He can't have any, but we're gonna have 18.
No, you guys enjoy. It's actually, I think if I saw anything on the shelf, I might have made that exact selection because I'm a big Oban fan. And I can taste it actually right now as I'm tasting this cigar. I have my coffee going right now.
Coffee would go great with this cigar too.
Yeah. Great.
I can only imagine.
Broadleaf is like,
yeah, coffee. Well, there's no
broadleaf. Ecuadorian about, but it's okay.
No, but it's similar. It's got those because those are the flavors I really love in blends. Is that dark espresso, those coffee type flavors, the cacao. So, when I'm blending cigars too, I'm usually have coffee or San Pellegrino. It's either one or the other.
Do you do any bourbons or anything like that when you're blending?
I usually not. I really got it big on, which is interesting, San Pellegrino and carbonated waters, which there seems to be a whole stigma around carbonated waters in the States, but I used to hate carbonated water. And then reviewing tobacco and blending, when you're reviewing so many bales, the carbonation really does help clean your palate.
Yeah.
Some people different people have different styles. Some people drink milk, they'll say, or they'll drink sodas, but, carbonated San Pellegrino with a little bit of lime, I just got used to it, blending blending cigars. For some reason, they in restaurants they mark up San Pellegrino like wine.
Really?
In these restaurants. Yeah, you can get
the
San
market.
Pellegrino. It's like $1.50 in the store, maybe a couple bucks for a bottle, but in restaurants it's like $7, $6, $7, $10.
We have a couple of customers here, Hooksett, who drink that regularly when they're smoking. For that reason, they think it's a real palate cleansing thing.
It really is, that carbonation, and there's different types of mineral and carbonated waters. San Pellegrino originally came from aquifers. Italy is very active, earth movements. You have some volcanoes, but the middle of the country, they have a lot of mineral water, natural aquifers. So originally, San Pellegrino came from actually carbonated from the earth. Nestle eventually bought them out, so they do a little bit of forced carbonation also, but there's different levels to carbonated waters. A lot of them are just forced carbonated, right? They're just water that's just carbonated. Those are the real salty. I'm starting to do blind taste testing with carbonated waters. I'm such a dork. Yeah.
So for those of the people listening who may not, have been under a rock for the last few years and not know who you are, how does a New England born boy from Connecticut end up becoming a master blender and owner of your own company and living down in Nicaragua? How does that happen?
It's a journey. It's a journey, man. It's been a journey. It's been I've been reflecting a lot on it since COVID and taking the time to this is actually the longest I've been in the States in 18 years.
Wow.
So it started for me in 96. I was 18, going to school here in Connecticut. I grew up. All my great grandfathers smoked Connecticut cigars. Like New Hampshire had its own cigar blends. Connecticut had factories here in New Haven, Connecticut, and Hartford. So I grew up, with that aroma from my grandfathers, even though they weren't in the business. I was always surrounded by broadleaf cigars. They all smoked Extra Oscuro, different brands, Topstone, FD Grave. I went to school with the grandson of FD Grave, which is a famous cigar factory here in New Haven. So when I was 18, I graduated high school, and it was the height of the cigar boom. If you guys, you remember, it was just a crazy time, and I had been head deep in it, by the time I was 18, and I just learned everything I could about cigars. And I used to go into this shop called the Calabash Shop, which was in Hamden, Connecticut. And there's two ladies that ran it, and there's lines out the door, man. Like every Friday, my brother and I would go in there and get smokes to have with my grandfather. And it was just packed. The humidors, just lines every Friday. I finally got up to the register one Friday, and I said to the ladies, listen, here's my email. It was just email just came out, and my phone number. I know every cigar in that humidor. I know all the blends. I would love to work for you guys. So that was like June 96. Didn't hear from them for 2 months. Week before I started school, they realized that my grandfather had been buying pipe tobacco there since the 70s. And they gave me a shot, and they put me in charge of the humidor. They gave me 2 bags. They just came back from the trade show from Tennessee that year. And they said, you're in charge. You're in charge of the humidor and for bringing in new brands. They smoked, but they didn't smoke a lot. And they saw my passion. And that was my first really leg in the door. So 96, there was a lot of new companies. That time we used to call them Don Nobodies. Everybody trying to get into the business. Probably about a year or 2 later, I met some characters from a company called Drew Estate. And, it was an unknown company, and they had been making a cigar called La Vieja Habana with Nick Perdomo.
Mm.
So I brought that into the shop. The first brand they were making was called Somero. Nobody remembers it because it was god awful. That was their first shot, I think, at making some sticks. I didn't bring that one in, but they kept coming back, building relationships. So I brought in La Vieja Habana, and I did an event one Saturday with the character named Jonathan Drew, and that was like 98, I want to say. And then we just kept in touch from 98 to about 2000, 2003, 2002. I graduated school in 2000. I moved to Italy for a year, came back and worked on my master's degree, then got a job working in Italy again. I said, I didn't finish my master's degree because I got this job, and I said, I can't go back to a classroom. So I bought an around the world ticket. I went from Europe to India to Laos, Thailand, Vietnam, China, Japan. So Jonathan was on my email list, and he was having me test websites as I'm traveling around the world, the loading time, different cigar websites. And I got to Japan, and he said, "What are you doing when you get back?" I said, "Don't have any current plans. I was thinking about traveling through Central America because my dream was to learn how to roll and bunch cigars."
Okay.
And John said, "I want you to come down to Nicaragua and be my right-hand man." So March 2003, I moved down to Nicaragua, and it's been my second home ever since. So, I was 24 when I moved to Nicaragua in 2003, and I was in heaven, as far as just being able to take it to the, my love for cigars. I studied international business in school.
Right.
So it was like, all right, now it's time to prove myself.
Right.
Now it's time to really put into real life experience my love for what I just studied in school and this love for cigars. And I just naturally, Drew Estate in 2003, we were a fraction of its size, right? It wasn't like D right now. It was just beginning, just starting to really grow every year. So I just naturally evolved into blending, tobacco purchasing, everything that had to do with the factory. So I was fortunate to learn over almost 12 years, just from amazing people, amazing legends in the industry, and just, always learning.
Who you learned from?
What's that?
Who are some of these legends that you learned?
Plasencias, the Oliva Tampa family. There's a gentleman that works for them in Nicaragua called Gustavo Cura. He's one of these unknown, really masters behind the scenes. You have the Perez family from a company called ASP. Really, I was, different factories, different people, along the way. When I got there in 2003, I remember Pepin when he just came over 2003, and he used to be in a little room, blending cigar, and I would just, soak in. And to this day, I'm constantly learning because it's something with tobacco. You have to observe, and you can't have any, really preconceived notions. You always have to be open to listening to the leaf. And that's like the real, tobacco guys, they know the leaf almost on an intimate level.
Yeah.
I'm just always trying to learn and grow. So that's how I've gotten to this point,
Awesome.
So
that's quite a journey, man.
Yeah. So after 12 years, I made the really difficult decision to leave DE in 2014. And it was probably one of the most difficult decisions of my life because, being in Nicaragua all the time, the team there became my family. It's being a foreigner living abroad. It's a little bit different than I think working in your hometown. So it was a tough one, but I knew if I didn't start my own company, I probably wouldn't be able to with all this regulation BS going on. And can we swear on the show, or is it not?
Oh, well, Kurt,
swear. All right, no swearing. I'll keep it clean.
Hey, no.
If Kurt says no, I'm going to try to abide by that. So I decided to spread my wings, and I started Foundation in, let's see. I launched at the IPCPR in July of 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's been nonstop.
It's in 5.5, 6 years.
Yep.
Let me tell you, it's COVID's been crazy, but for me, I have to say, I needed to stop because. Can you guys hear me? I hope my connection's not bad. It's been 5 years nonstop, just a lot. It's been a lot. Learning a lot. I was never on the sales and distribution side of things. So managing Nicaragua and then also sales and distribution, it's nights, it's been weekends, it's crazy travel schedules. So, but
a lot of people we've had on were actually looking back on it, kind of liking the fact that they didn't have to travel so much.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was at a point last year, I finally got to Nicaragua in February, and I was really at a point where I felt like I was either going to get sick from the schedule I was trying to keep, or have a mental breakdown because it was just really aggressive. The travel really, it takes a toll on you. It's not. When I was 24, it was a little bit easier, but it's tough traveling. It's just keeping healthy. So
and if you're not, it doesn't matter where you're at. You're not going to be able to do anything.
True.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about Highclere Castle, and how did you hook up with this British thing to come out with? I mean, you're all Nicaragua, you're all the wise man, the Elowense, and then all of a sudden Highclere Castle comes out. I mean, it's like, completely different things.
Yeah, it's an interesting story, man. It's
you have to do it.
It's kind of bizarre how these things work out. So I actually met through a shop here in Connecticut called Mickey Blake's. One of the owners introduced me to a good friend of his about 5-6 years ago. His name was Adam von Gutkin. I was like, all right, that's an interesting name. Adam and I met, and Lou from the shop was just like, you guys got to know each other. There's something, I don't know what it is, but you guys have to know each other. And he was right. We met and we just started bouncing ideas. He's an entrepreneur and distilled moonshine here in Connecticut called Onyx Moonshine. So his family goes back to, the 20s before distilling moonshine in Connecticut. So he set up a small batch distillery in Connecticut, and he ended up going to Highclere with his wife, and he ends up befriending Lord and Lady Carnarvon that live at the castle. And it just happened really naturally. And they started talking about alcohol because he was distilling, and they started to develop a project called Highclere Castle Gin.
Yes.
Which, the Highclere estate is 5,000 acres. It's an active farm. So they started developing the gin, which is been they're launching. They've been launching this past year and a half. But in the discussion, cigars came up because cigars at the castle. There's a cigar room. This is the location of where Downton Abbey show Downton Abbey. It's really the real Downton Abbey takes place. Yep. And even in the first episode of Downton Abbey, at the end, after they have dinner, they retire to have cigars. So my buddy Adams, they're talking about gin, cigars come up, and Adam says, you have to meet Nick. Nick's in Nicaragua. You guys should meet. We should do something. Adam is a newer cigar smoker within the past 5-6 years. So he's learning about all the history. He knows how much I love history and how all of our brands are really, deep into history and culture. Mm-hmm. So Adam calls me up and he said, you got to come to England. And I said, Adam, it's before our trade show. This was in, I think, May. And I said, there's no way I'm making it to England. So long story short, Adam and Lord Carnarvon end up flying to Nicaragua. Wow. Me. So Lord Carnarvon comes to Nicaragua. This is the godson to the Queen of England, mind you.
Right.
Wow. Anybody that knows me, I'm not one for fancy things. Money is not something that really impresses me. It's not something. Do I like money? Of course. Is it a tool? But someone that's, really wealthy, that alone doesn't really impress me. So I had a little bit of preconceived, notions before meeting Lord Carnarvon. I thought there would be, maybe a little bit of an air of, hoity-toityness going on. And he ends up coming to Nicaragua, and we just hit it off. Just an amazing, down-to-earth gentleman, really funny, very dry sense of humor, but hilarious. And we just automatically just hit it off. I got to show Lord Carnarvon and Adam, Seed to Cigar. And it was just an amazing trip. And that was really the root of how Highclere started. So I ended up working on some blends for Lord Carnarvon, and we ended up launching, I think I want to say now 2018 Highclere Castle Edwardian.
Sounds about right.
And so that was the beginning of, for me it was just perfect as far as fitting within the foundation portfolio, because there's so much history within Highclere. Cigar culture within Highclere is amazing. Lord Carnarvon's great-grandfather was a big-time cigar smoker. He discovered King Tut's tomb with Howard Carter.
Wow.
I got to access the archives at the castle to see some of the receipts of things he was smoking, from the Partagas factory, from different cigar shops. So I used that really as the inspiration for the blends and the line. And, it's really our Rolls Royce within our line. So, if you look at the portfolio and the blends, I really wanted to develop, blends and brands for, if you were in the cigar shop and all you had was foundation, you guys have so many different people walking through that door, right?
Sure.
People are looking for different blends, strength-wise, price points.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to cover that from, Charter Oak to Highclere and everything kind of in between for all the different, cigar smokers and palates. And, of course, I like to smoke a lot of, different things. So, it's stuff I love, but they're definitely different. Every line has got its own uniqueness.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's very true. You've got a very diverse line.
Oh yeah.
And people who are looking for, the everyday smoke, or the value cigar, the Charter Oak that thing flies off the shelf, dude.
Yeah, we can't keep it in stock.
We can't keep it in stock. And the Tabernacles, both the original and the Havana Seed.
Yeah.
Personally, the Havana Seed, Corona and Robusto, both of those, I think that's one of the best cigars you've ever.
I don't know if you've been told yet, but those are going to be really hard to find right now. That wrapper is Cuban seed grown in Connecticut.
Correct. Yep.
It's one of the most difficult wrappers to ferment. It's in fermentation almost 3 years now. It's not ready.
Wow.
So if you see any of them, get them, because it's going to be 3+ months before there's going to be any more back, possibly longer. Yeah.
And some later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That cigar is just, that's been my favorite. I love the David and Goliath extensions for Tabernacle too. What made you come out with those Perfectos and what?
Yeah, Perfectos back in the day was a very common size. If you look at the early 1900s, Perfectos
they were everywhere.
Smoked. Yeah. I mean, all the Connecticut brands smoked Perfectos. It's always been one of those specialty sizes that I've liked. I mean, I've been a fan of, like, of course, like the Hemingway series. And of course, I worked on, some of the Unico series stuff. And I just thought it would be a really nice line extension. And also just that David and Goliath, because of all this FDA stuff, it's something that I had, in mind many years ago. So
it's Goliath with
the theme there. Yeah. And it kind of fits with the whole Tabernacle, theme. Sure. And those blends have just been really, really delicious. Yeah.
They have been.
I got a problem with those Davids. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, now a couple of weeks ago we had Justo Aroa on the show, and he shared that one of the big challenges that he's having to deal with right now is the availability of wood, trying to find wood for boxes, and wood being more and more expensive. Is that an issue that you're having to deal with as well, or is that not as big of a thing for you?
So it's so funny because a friend of mine makes all my boxes in Nicaragua. So he's had this box factory for some time, and he's just a great guy. But we have been noticing, issues with this. So we actually had on order container of wood. So we ended up getting everything we needed, and actually just got to Nicaragua a couple weeks ago. So we're in good shape, knock on wood. No pun intended.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. So, right now it's interesting because we're definitely in a mini boom. I don't think it was tough to see when COVID hit, but people are home more. I think people are learning more about cigars in general. You guys could probably even tell me more, but I think we're very fortunate that we're in an industry that, I know we had a lot of issues and being shut down, but not completely shut down, because it's been a crazy year, man. Holy cow.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
I know you guys know that, but everybody knows that.
Well, I think everybody thought when the whole thing was starting that we were all going to shut down and, wondering what was going to happen. And we're fortunate here at Twins. We had, we were able to have a nice, we were big enough that we could do curbside service and so it became kind of the, we were the Sonic of, the Sonic of, we deliver the cigars outside and everything. And then, about 7 weeks into it, we were able to open on a list so that people could come into the store, couldn't stay and smoke. You couldn't have the bar, but people could at least come in. And it was so funny how, when people were doing the curbside thing, they couldn't remember what they liked to smoke.
Right.
It's so much a visual thing. They'd go to where they know it was and pick it up, but you asked them to tell you what it was they were smoking, and so many people had a hard time with that. And
that's fascinating. That fascinates me, and in the sense of branding, right, and building brands, and sorry to cut you off. I was just I find that information fascinating because it was refreshing to me to see Foundation being a newer company.
Mm-hmm.
See people still, searching out Foundation brands through all this. We're a small company compared to, many others. So
new company, and
yeah.
But then, and we're fortunate too, being in New Hampshire where there's no cigar tax.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up having a record year.
Yeah.
And this year is looking like it's going to be another record year. I know that isn't true across the board. I know a lot of places, especially taxes are higher, have been really struggling. But we've seen people, working at home more, and so they want to smoke more. And and for a good long time there wasn't anything else to do but start a fire in your backyard and have a cigar. You couldn't do anything else. Just
bring the great thing for stress, man. Stress relief. God.
Dude, I have 3 girls at home. I live in the estrogen palace. Stress is my life. God bless you. Tobacco, that's been how I've been dealing with it.
Man, my wife's Puerto Rican and Cuban.
Yeah, you have a
talk about
peligrosa.
Yeah, a little bit. Just a little bit. You gotta you kind of constantly walking on, thin ice, and almost a military mindset when you're home. And yes, miss. Yeah, no, miss. Okay.
Keeps you in line, man. Somebody's got to keep you in line.
Oh yeah. If she wasn't there, I had a conversation with my wife the other day, and and I told her, I'm like, if you weren't here constantly on my culo, and nothing would get done around the house. The chickens wouldn't have food.
Probably true.
Dog get food or water.
You have chickens?
I have chickens and turkeys, and I have a 120-pound Rottweiler named Zeus.
Oh, that's a great name.
That's a great name for a dog.
He's my son. I love him.
That's awesome. That was my nickname at the factory, Rottweiler. I see him all chill, but
there you go.
So now I know you were out. You told me earlier today you were out in the fields in Connecticut. Over stuff. How are things looking? I mean, have you had a hard time with workers in Connecticut with all this COVID stuff going on? Are things going okay?
Things are going all right. It's been a little bit of a late season because the temperatures haven't turned quite yet. It was nice today. Yeah, so things in the seed beds, a lot is in the seed beds. So we're just prepping seed beds, prepping the fields. So it's a little bit late, but the month that's always tough is August because depending on the heat throughout the summertime, the heat builds up, and then August, as you get a lot of these micro kind of storms. You get hail.
Yeah.
You get these severe thunderstorms. So sometimes tornadoes, small micro tornadoes. So that's always going to be the challenge. But, even though it's a little bit of a late start, we should be all right. So, yeah.
Cool. Now, you said the last
River Valley.
What's that? The last time you were in Nicaragua was February. This past February?
No. Last. So it was April last year.
April of last year you were.
Yeah.
So I have to ask. I know all your stuff is made down there. There's multiple factories down there that are doing different things for you.
Yeah.
How even being in Nicaragua, I would imagine that is a challenging thing. How have you been doing that from Connecticut?
So I've been fortunate, because I've been down there so long to be really tapped into quality control teams, the production floor. So I'm tapped into the production floors. So WhatsApp. I don't know if you guys use WhatsApp.
Yeah. So someone's walking around with like a little screen view, and you're no.
Yes. No.
Yeah, and then a lot of air shipments. So I can't swear. A ton of air shipments of a lot of things. Fortunately, I had a lot of what I was releasing for last year was already set. So the blends were done. The packaging was done. So I have a team down there that's actively. I have an art team, but then also a team that's overseeing, production. And we've worked together so long. I didn't think I would be able to be out this long. It's something, like I said, for 18 years. This is the longest I've been out, and it was working, and it's still working right now. So I've just wrote it, but I'm going to be heading down next month, and I'll pretty much be in Nicaragua for winter. Moving forward, I'm probably going to be spending, most of my time moving forward there. I'm not going to be doing as much of the road show, in the States. And I just hired an outside sales director. So he's going to be managing our outside sales team. He's going to be on the road and start picking up a lot of that, work that I was kind of doing, here and there. I was back and forth between Connecticut and Nicaragua. Like, I was commuting to New York. It was, yeah. So I've been fortunate, and I work with really great manufacturers, and it's just constantly being on top, right? It's every day. If you saw my task lists and my, it's just constant. You think it would be a little bit more easygoing, but every day is just, nonstop, man. It's so yeah. So a lot of air shipments, a lot of video chats, a lot of just working with the team and make sure you have your finger on the pulse. That's the name of the game. So moving forward, it's not, with new stuff and just, things like certain things take, of course, twice as long to do than compared to being down there. So I also have some other things going on up here, which you guys will know about probably later in the summer. Different things going on, so it'll kind of make a little bit more sense. So my attention was needed more here. So yeah.
All right. Before we get to the half of the show, one of the segments we do on the show is called Pastor Padron's Cigar Confessions. And in that segment, I usually share, one of my own kind of cigar pet peeves, or something I, really wish, people would do, or people would stop doing, that would enhance their experience of their cigar.
I can't wait to hear this.
And well, here's the thing. I want to ask you, what is one of your cigar pet peeves?
I'll tell you, and I hope you guys don't do it. But this blue flame, I cringe when it hits the tobacco. This blue flame, normal soft flames are about, I'm going to say and you can Google check me on this, the 800 degree Fahrenheit range.
Right around there.
This is in the 2800 range. I'm going to say 3000. I mean, this is, it's like a Bunsen burner.
Yeah.
So ideally, this can be felt from way, you can hold this way up here, but I never suggest lighting it and putting that blue flame on there, especially when you're dealing with blends that maybe have heavier tobacco, or maybe they're a little bit drier. You're going to end up heating that tobacco up to a point where it is going to affect the blend. Is it going to affect it in a way that, you're not going to be able to smoke it? No, not as much, but it is going to affect the blend and how it was intended to be. Yeah. And especially if you're puffing on it a lot, like it's going to end up heating it up and kind of doing it. So, to each his own. You know, I don't want to be that guy that's like, if you're enjoying, you're enjoying. And that's what I like to see is people enjoy.
Sure.
But definitely, I think it's something that, you know, I just, as a cigar nerd,
no, I'm totally. I'm a soft flame guy myself. You know,
nice.
I like to take the time to light the cigar, and you know, I think that's the whole thing with the torch. I mean, because you're right, it's torches are just too hot for the tobacco. But it's a time saver, and that's what people want to get the thing lit as soon as they possibly can.
Yeah, and you can still do it. It's just you don't have to put it on because if you just hold it above it, I mean, if you feel it with your hand, I mean, that heat, you can light it quick and easy.
Yeah.
It's just it still can do the job. It's just don't put it right in there.
Right.
Don't put it right in there.
You're altering the flavor of that cigar, and you're over toasting it. And I constantly see people doing that at the shop, and it's like, relax, put it down, put the flame lower. If you're gonna use a 3-burner, single burner, 4, 5 burner, Bunsen burner, whatever you're gonna, you know, light your cigar with, you know, hold it away from the flame, because you're altering that flavor. And for me, I use a soft flame, and I'm like maybe 1.5 inches away with the soft flame.
Yeah.
And it just, I mean, it gets to the point where it's maybe 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And you're on, and you're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
All right.
Especially if you have blends that have like heavier visos, ligeros, heavier tobacco. If those get too hot, they're gonna end up being too harsh. It's gonna be too much. It's the same thing when we like go out to Vegas and you're dealing out west in Arizona. You got 15% moisture content in the air.
Yeah,
that's super dry. The blends, they end up tasting completely different. You know, because of the moisture content is so important from seed all the way to, you know, of course, the humidors. So
sure, absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah.
All right. So before we get to the half, what's the final verdict here on the Highclere Castle Victorian? Dave, you
hate it.
I
hates it.
It's a failed project. Just send them all to me. I'll take care of it. No, I get a lot of like some wood, some. I feel like some cedar notes.
Yeah.
Well, wooden cedar, really.
Wooden cedar is your big thing.
Wooden cedar.
Did you enjoy it? How do you think it went with the pairing?
I thought it was.
I know you liked.
Well, the pairing is gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been paired.
Now, did you just drink it because it was 18 years old, or did you like how it went with the?
Well, yes, because I wasn't talking. So.
It's the one thing about being the producer. You get to sit and enjoy and drink and listen. And What about you, Nick?
Oh, it was great. Very luxurious cigar for me. I loved it with the pairing because it brought out a nice sweet note in the cigar, and the woody background note with a little bit of spice. And I think the Oban 18 kind of brought down the spice a little bit more, kind of smoothed everything out, where everything was really nice and complex, and it wasn't too, one wasn't more than another. It played very nice with each other, and it was a great cigar. Great smoke.
I think the pairing was great. You did a good job picking the 18.
Yeah.
There's a slight smokiness to the Oban.
Yeah.
And that just really goes well with this cigar and those earthy cocoa, wood notes that we've all been talking about. And there's this great spice in the retro that I've been enjoying.
Yeah.
And what a great pairing.
I'd love to taste this after it's been aged like 5 years or so. I think it would be
even
insane.
better. Oh yeah.
That retro is where it's at. You have to promise me the next time we do this, we'll do the Highclere Edwardian, which is the Connecticut shade. Yeah. And I'm going to send you guys some Highclere gin.
Ooh.
I was never a big gin guy, but you have to try the Highclere gin. Regardless, make sure you email me your address. I'll get you guys some.
Sure. They sell it in the liquor stores here in New Hampshire.
Oh, they
It's on
do?
the shelf.
Awesome.
Oh boy.
We gotta get twins to get a little bit. It's
Yeah, right.
it's really unique. They use oats in the blend, which is, to me, it really sets the, you know, it's very unique, the gin. I had my first martini, Highclere gin martini, and I never had martinis with gin before, which a lot of people say that's the original, like, martini was with gin, but but it was too good, because it has this sort of like creamy finish that kind of balances out like the juniper notes, which I think is really fascinating. So I drink it, you know, even neat. It's actually quite nice.
Well, especially, you know, maybe, you know, I know we were talking before the show about you maybe being in town in September for Kurt's show. Maybe we could
do that.
Maybe we can do it live. That would be great.
That would be cool.
Awesome. Not that this isn't awesome, Nick. But
this is great. That Oban, yeah, we might have to do both next time.
We'll have Nick send you a little nip out of the bottle or something.
Absolutely. One of those traveling vials.
Yeah.
Absolutely, a little 4 ounce.
I usually drink, you know, bourbon, but Oban is my scotch of choice. And so when I'm traveling to Nicaragua, it's always the one that I get in Nicaraguan duty before I just get my bag, and there's a couple, you know, duty frees there that the Oban is a staple. Nice. You know, because it's tough to get anything else in. You know, the rum is incredible. Besides Johnny Walker and you know, there's not much selection, so I always try to stock up.
Well, what do you think? You want to hang around for a little bit? Or
I'll hang around with a few. I want to see what you guys what's going on with the pipe game.
All right. So we're going to take a little bit of a break here, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere, people. So how did Tobacconist University start? Where did the idea come from to start doing something to train other people's staff in the art of tobacconist stuff?
So I opened in September of '95. By January, I knew I was a complete idiot, even though I'd read everything I could. January '96, I went to Cuba just to really try, and because, you know, it doesn't matter how much you hang out in shops, and if you've read everything there is to read on cigars. At the time, you literally could read everything there is to read. And I did. And it wasn't enough. So I went to Cuba. I got lucky. I ran into the director general of Cuba Tobacco at the Partagas bar. We became, like, you know, great friends drinking there. And he gave me access to farms and all sorts of old books and documents and really cool stuff. And when I got back, I turned it into like a fundamental educational course for my tobacconists, because you know, I always wanted, I didn't want to compete on price or volume in my business. I wanted to be a luxury, a boutique, a product specialist. You know, I wanted to be the best professional we could be. And so it made sense that if I'm having a hard time being that person, I need to create a system to help others. And I started on that in '96. And I believe by November of that year, we started teaching a course at a local hotel where the general manager was a customer of mine. We had like 30 or 40 or more customers come in, and we taught it over the course of a month. It was called Cuban Cigar University. Then I had opened a store by November of that year in New Hope, Pennsylvania. And a year or two later, I opened another one back in at Marietta, Georgia, Atlanta, where my uncle and aunt ran it. So I was training them. I was certifying consumers. And it used to be a giant binder. It still is. I mean, you know, that's the old version. I have it. That I would give to employees. And then I developed a test. And then around '03, you know, I saw the way the industry was going. So many challenges, retail side, legislation, taxation, that I wanted to, I call it turning it inside out. You know, instead of just making it for our shops, I wanted to make it for every shop. And I spent from '03 to like '05, '06, you know, because you think it's simple. Oh, I'll just make it for everybody and I'll put it online.
Sure.
But it was a lot of work. And then when you do that, you see all the holes you have. So I had to double down on pipes, make that better, get video for rolling. So it was a process, but I think by 06 we became the official academic curriculum of what was converting from the RTD8 to then being the IPCPR.
Right.
And we've just been growing since. I remember we didn't have any. My employees were the only certified tobacconists at the time, and slowly but surely, I mean, I think today we're up over 667 or something certified retail tobacconists, with many more than that apprenticing. So it's been quite the ride.
All right, we're back with Nick Melillo, and Nick, it turns out, is a pipe guy.
Yeah.
How awesome is that?
That is the greatest.
Now, had I known this, I would have taken more time and set him up with some of this stuff. But and I'll make sure he gets some, knowing that you enjoy this. Do you enjoy English blends? My mixture and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
All right,
man. I'm a big Latakia guy.
All right, I'll send you.
I'm a big Perique guy.
Ooh, I might have to send a bunch of stuff. Knowing that you're a pipe guy.
Those Navy rolls are something else.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something when that tin just opens up. It's just. So you're smoking which blend again?
This is a blend by GLP's called Westminster.
Yeah.
It's part of his heirloom tobacco. Let me tell you what it says on the tin here. The very essence of the traditional English mixture. Rich, elegant, refined, and exquisitely balanced. The New World red Virginias are enhanced with a gentle caress of bright leaf, then lavishly seasoned with rich Oriental tobaccos and generous measures of noble Cypress Mountain Latakia. Westminster is a satisfying blend, presenting layers of flavor to delight the senses and develop in the bowl. A perfect everyday smoke.
Wow, I got to get that person to write my write-ups.
He has the best descriptions on his tin.
He does.
They're great.
He does.
Now, as with all GLP's mixtures, this is manufactured right now by Cornell and Deal, and it is listed on tobaccoreviews.com as a Balkan blend. Nice. Latakia, Orientals, Virginia. There's no flavoring in this. It's a ribbon cut, and we're continuing to smoke the Oban with this. And the smokiness in the Oban, I know, is just going to go perfectly with a little bit of smokiness of the Latakia in this blend. Are you digging it, Nick?
I'm digging it.
You're digging it?
You get it on the retro.
And
it's scrumptious.
Scrumdiddlyumptious.
It is scrumptious. That Latakia, my goodness. It's really good. It's really good. I love, this is what, an English blend, right?
It is an English blend, yes.
I love English blends. One of my favorite blends, just kind of like your regular everyday tin, which that's what I would call it, is Quiet Nights.
From another GLP.
Blend. And oh my God, the deep, rich flavor out of that tin. I can smoke it all day and get, oh yes, all day. I recommend it to everybody that comes in. Because that, for me, I love a medium to full body smoke, even in cigars. And anybody that's, looking for pipe tobacco that fits that palate, I always recommend this. We also have Esoterica Tabacchiana, which is unbelievable there too. So it's just a great smoke. Love it.
What do you guys, what kind of pipes are you smoking?
Well, I am smoking an Eric Stokeby 4th generation, 1906, burnt sienna finish on it. I love his pipes.
Pretty pipe.
They're so unique.
Yeah, that's pretty.
He always had these brass bands right at the base there that say 4th generation on them. You always know when you're smoking a 4th gen pipe. And Dave is smoking his what?
My Eric Nording. This is a freehand.
Freehand Nording.
Looks like it.
Freehand.
It was melted at one point.
Yep. David likes very unique pipe shapes.
And Nording has a very unique pipe shape.
And what about you, Nick?
I have my Peterson rusticated sitter.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this thing. I smoke everything out of it, which is probably not the best thing. But
it's a great work pipe.
Oh God. You just put it right down.
Yeah.
Help customers. Pick it right up. Continue on your day, my friend.
You pick stuff.
I think I have. I don't know if I have that same exact one, but I have a Peterson. What do you call it? The rest. It rests.
Rusticated.
Yeah, rusticated. So it's so the outside is not. Oh God, look at that.
Oh, the nice calabash there.
Look at that.
I got a nice calabash.
That's straight out of Inglorious Bastards right there.
That's very English.
Exactly.
How perfect.
Let me see if I can flip my camera. So this is a nice little pipe. I don't know if you can see it all right, but it's a little pipe rack. This was my grandfather's, and this was his smoking chair. So I have
grandfather.
This holds pipe. Yeah, that was his smoking chair, and then here we have, let's see, the ultimate. Here it is. There you go. Let's see.
You got to take your background.
Oh, look at that. Blur off.
All right. And then I got my little pipe rack here.
Nice.
Yep.
And then so I got, this is my favorite here. Let's see. I know the quality of this video is not great. Hold on. Here's one. Look at this baby.
Oh yeah, that's very nice.
That's a Peterson. I think it's got a crown on the on the top there.
That's very nice.
That one sits. What did you say? A standing one?
Yeah, sitter.
Yeah, sits right there.
There you go.
And then I have a bunch of I don't know how to flip this back. Oh, here we go. A bunch of Becker and Musicos. I can't find my pipe I've been smoking. Where'd it go? Here it is. This is my favorite right now. This is a Pablo Becker.
Oh wow! How old was that one, Nick?
This one, I don't know. I found this one in a store in New York. The other ones I got in Rome because that's where they only sell them when I used to live there. This one I tracked down because this maker, Pablo Becker, he passed away, I want to say now 10 years ago. He was actually a friend of mine, and his partner was Massimo Musico. Mm-hmm. And Becker's been around for a long time. Right. And then they made a brand called Becker and Musico, which, again, was only really sold in Rome, in Italy. They were really old school. Massimo would say he didn't even have a website. He would say, you'd say, where's your, what's your website address? He would say, no, a website? This is my website. And he'd point to the store. He'd be in the store. That was his website.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I used to hang out with those guys. That was like my spot when I was living in Rome. I used to hang out in the pipe shop because I used to start work at like 4 p.m. So I used to hang out. It was right next to the Trevi Fountain. So it was like, loaded with tourists, but hanging out in that shop, all the local Roman politicians, businessmen, they had a nice little sitting area, and they had a house blend of tobacco. So you could just go in and fill up your bowl. And I just used to go in there and hang out. And then we used to go to the factory. His little factory up the street was right across the street from the Prime Minister of Italy's house. And we used to go in there on Sundays and listen to soccer games and they used to make pipes. So so this is a special one. The briar on it is just it's just such a high quality briar. So the heat, there's no, it just smokes so nicely because it doesn't get hot at all. Nice. It's so thick. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's an awesome looking pipe, man.
I'm so glad you guys are smoking pipes, man. I don't get to talk pipes with a lot of people.
Well, this is one more reason to make sure we get you on the show
Oh
again.
my God!
Yeah.
Sometimes, it's hard sometimes when you have these big cigar guys on, and do you smoke a pipe? Nope. Now, you got into smoking pipes because of your grandfather and all. You inherited his pipes and everything.
Yeah.
Now, what do you enjoy about pipe smoking?
Let me tell you, I mean, it's just so different. The tobaccos, I think, are so unique compared to, I call them black tobaccos, which is what the cigar tobaccos are. The Periques, the Latakias, Virginias. It just provides such a different smoking experience, but I've always enjoyed it. I mean, I do smoke aromatics from time to time, especially around certain holidays, just because it when I'm around my family, it really brings that feeling of my grandfather.
Yeah,
so it's like he used to smoke. He smoked English blends also, but he did smoke 1Q a lot.
Yeah.
Man.
Everybody.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah. It was called Thornton Street in our shop. So
yeah,
the Calabash where I worked, we actually had the largest pipe selection and bar in the state of Connecticut. So I used to do all the pipe blending, right? I used to have the big mixing bowl. So a lot of guys had, the ladies at the shop had card catalogs. Customers had since, the 70s. So that was my first introduction really to blending. It was just being able to work with the tobaccos and, mix them. And then I started really experimenting, myself with different blends. And it's just great. Once you learn I was fortunate to learn from these guys, Becker and Massimo Musico and his family. If you ever get a chance, Giorgio Musico.
Okay.
He's like a yogi of pipes. That was Massimo's father. He started working with Fritz Becker after World War II. So Fritz Becker was a master pipe maker and moved to Rome after World War II. And Giorgio worked for the name. This is terrible. Eludes me. It was a very famous pipe shop in Rome. And he used to work, the sales side of things. So they ended up collaborating and starting Becker and Musico. Giorgio is just like, oh man, I mean, just a yogi of pipes, like beard. He actually, like, you would never think he studied like actual yoga and stuff. Pipe, beard, looks like the classic like Italian style, gentleman, but he was he studied yoga.
Nice.
And I used to call him the yogi, the pipe yogi, and he taught me a lot. But they really taught me too. They would have a long bowl contest where you got 3 matches.
Yeah.
And who would keep the bowl lit the longest?
Yeah.
You ever hear of these contests before?
Yes.
That would be a cool contest. But he really showed me how to pack the bowl properly. And
key to everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, once you, I was doing it all right before, but then learning from them, once you get that down, it just makes because I think a lot of people have trouble with that. It's like they don't get the proper education and really how to light the bowl and
it also comes
just educate.
Yeah.
What's that?
It also comes with patience. You got to have some patience to learn in the right way of packing it, because we get a lot of people that come in and they've said, oh, well, I've had a pipe before and the bowl is, I can't keep it lit and everything like that. And it's like, well, come in, we'll take the time to show you the right way to pack it. Or if you have, because Danny holds court every first Saturday of the month, second Saturday of the month. And Danny has his court and the pipe club. So
nice.
Danny can sit down with you if you're having any issues with your pipe, keeping it lit. the pack, which is always the case, and Danny can sort it out for you. Or you come in on a slow day, or a Monday or Tuesday, and myself or Paul or Dave can sit down with you personally and go over issues with the pipe and get you going and get you into different tobaccos.
Yeah.
That's cool.
One of the things I enjoy about pipe smoking is that, when you enjoy a cigar, you're really taking somebody else's completed, let's call it work of art, because that's what it is. And clip it, you light it, you smoke it, you enjoy it. And with a pipe, you get to then take somebody's finished work and then put your own touches on it. You get to prepare the tobacco how you want it. You pack it how you want it. You create the kind of draw you want. Do you want it lighter? Do you want it heavier? How much, what kind of bowl. You get to decide the geometry in which you're going to smoke this. And so you get to play so by the time you're enjoying it, you're just as much a part of the process as the people who put it together. Right. And I like that. I like being able to kind of get your hands dirty and become part of the thing that you're enjoying.
Yeah, that's really well said. Yeah, I think that's definitely the allure for me also from the beginning. It's interesting. I talked about this before a little bit, but I got to show you. I wish I could show you guys these pictures. This is my grandfather.
Oh,
smoking a pipe. Yeah, back in the day.
Were you born with the beard?
No, it's so funny, man. My mom's finally gotten used to it, but I started growing it in actually 2000 when I moved to Italy, and I think I only cut it once since then. Yeah. So when I first moved to Italy, I was at the Trevi Fountain and happened to walk into this pipe shop. Right, this elegant pipe. There was no signage on the door. I was wearing a shirt at the time similar to my tabernacle box. It had Haile Selassie on it. Right, it was a reggae shirt. So I walk into this shop, and this Italian guy comes out and he says, "Rasta man, what are you doing? How you doing? Welcome." And this is like a really elegant shop. Okay. They had canes. They had really elaborate, really elegante. I mean, unbelievable. So he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I just came, I moved to Italy, and I'm going to be working with the Vatican a little bit and traveling around. And I used to work at a cigar shop and pipe shop." And he said, "Oh yeah, well, what pipes did you sell?" I said, "Well, Peterson, Savinelli, Morning, Becker and Musico." And he goes, wait, Becker and Musico? He goes, "I am Massimo Musico."
Nice.
And I was like, "What?" He's like, "I am Massimo Musico." and he was Massimo. I didn't even notice the name on the door. So from that point on, Massimo and I became really good friends because he was really into reggae and ska and that genre of music. And we started this relationship in 2000. And I was trying to find the picture of him and I in the pipe factory. So over time, I ended up going to Nicaragua. It was kind of difficult to keep in touch because he's an old soul, even though he's probably, I'm 43. He's probably close to 50 now. So we were kind of in the same age range. He used to take me to concerts and, it was awesome. So when I was starting the company, in 2014, I started planning and I had all these names. And foundation is a word that comes up a lot within the reggae, with the Rastas and reggae. There's a lot of songs about it. Everything you build is on a strong foundation, right? It all starts with the strong foundation. So Massimo had started a pipe collective in Rome with different. You guys still there? My internet is terrible. I apologize. I'm getting new internet tomorrow morning at 8 to 10. They're coming. So anyway,
11. Yes.
Exactly. So Massimo had started this pipe collective of himself and really small pipe craftsmen in Rome called Foundation by Massimo Musica.
Wow.
So when I started and I was looking through trademarking, the name wasn't trademarked in the States. So I called Massimo up and I said, Massimo, this is what I'm doing. I'm starting a cigar company and I'm just going through names. You need to get this trademarked so nobody uses it. And I said, what do you feel if I used it for my cigar company? He said, Nicholas, you are the cigar maker. I am the pipe maker. It would be an honor for you to use Foundation.
Nice.
So he gave me his blessing, and that's really how Foundation really started. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. So Massimo, I've been trying to get in touch with him recently because I've always dreamed of doing some sort of collaboration with him. With the pipe or selling. He's really amazing. He's like a true artisan and craftsman, to the utmost level of, he's just so passionate, and the way he talks and speaks about pipes it's a whole different level. But
we're gonna have to get some of those pipes, Dan.
Yeah. Well, they're only sold in Rome.
Oh, yeah, they're
to have a road trip.
Yeah,
not just blowing smoke world tour.
I'm going to try to get in contact with him, and I'll let you guys know if, kind of where they're at right now. Unfortunately, his, partner Pablo Becker passed away. So if you ever find a Becker pipe anywhere,
just
grab it. Yeah, they're just, they're amazing. Or Becker and Musico. I know, I want to say, does R.D. Field ring a bell to you guys? They're sellers. I think they used to be a pipe seller to like cigar shops. This is probably back in the 90s, but they used to sell their pipes like in the late 90s. Maybe the last year was like 01, 02, but from after that they just sold within, the European market. So they've been tough to find.
Okay.
Sorry for the long.
No, that's great stuff. Let me talk a little bit about GLP's Westminster here. I'd love to have Greg on the show. Wasn't able to get him for tonight, but I did find that he wrote a little article on how and why this mixture came about, and so I thought I'd read a little bit of that. And I'll just start. He wrote this right after it came out in 2007. This is it's called The Road to Westminster, and it is where is it? It's in the Briar and Leaf Chronicles. If you Google that, you'll find out where it is. And Greg says, the passage of time can be a strange thing. The engagement we experience with the things of life can dilate time in ways that almost seem drug-induced, confounding our sense of rhythmic transit in ways that are inexplicable, producing a sort of temporal dissonance. He's got quite the vocabulary.
Yeah, he does.
So it is for me with the history of Westminster's development. And while it feels like well over a year since I first found myself submerged in this project, it was really only March of 2006. And again, this is written in January 2007, that I was going to hit it full tilt. The background to the project, however, extends much farther in history, in some sense, back to my earliest days of pipe smoking, when a particular tobacco caught my fancy and hasn't really let it go. In about 1980, while I was still in my underoos,
I wasn't even a twinkle in my mother's eye.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was in the throes of exploring many of the then readily available but still classic blends, mostly from such venerable house names as Sobrani, Dunhill, McConnell, Rattray, Sullivan Powell, and so on. You know the list. A few rooted themselves in my brain as truly exemplary. Many, perhaps, most of the blends that I tried were superb examples of what they were, but only a few truly resonated with my own tastes in blissful harmony. One of those blends was Dunhill's marvelous London mixture. This blend was first offered in 1928. The original catalog description read, quote, "A delightfully harmonious blend of matured Virginia and Oriental tobaccos, soft and mellow, cool and fragrant." I won't argue. Of all the blends bearing the standard of Dunhill, this was the one for me. It had a richness, a sophisticated elegance, and a complex nature that kept it from being tiring. It was full enough to satisfy, but never overbearing. It wasn't as exotic as some of my other faves, but neither was it as pretentious. It was comfort food for the pipe and was destined to be a constant resident of my tobacco shelf for many years. Circa 1981, when the new shipments of Murray's produced Dunhill blends began to find their way to the shelves, all the prior tins I'd smoked were earlier ones of Dunhill manufacture, I noticed changes in my beloved London mixture. It was still an excellent blend, but to my taste, it seemed to have lost a little something. Perhaps it wasn't as rich or as well balanced. Memory tells me that the Latakia content was slightly lower, that the Virginias were somewhat stronger, that the balance was different. Still, an exceptional blend and one I gladly smoked, while acquiring older tins when I could find them to satisfy the deeper cravings, but just not the same. Of course, the older tins did have the advantage of time on their side, but there it took more than that to explain the changes. London mixture has always been there for me, even as I've added many other blends to my list of regulars over the years and removed some. And now that I've had the opportunity to experience the Murray's version at many different ages, I can say that although it is somewhat different from the original, it has remained an excellent tobacco and kept the spirit of the old blend alive. When I learned last year that Orlick had taken over production of the Dunhill blends from the Murray's, concern was raised. So I picked up a few tins of the last available Murray's production, excuse me, and a few of the newer Orlick ones to try over the coming years. The Murray's version retained the character I loved about London mixture right to the end. I can't be quite as positive in my assessment of the new version. While it's certainly a good tobacco in its own right, and a lot of the flavors are still present, though in a different balance, it's more shallow, less refined, and certainly less full. It's one more step removed from the original, at least to my tastes, and not nearly as appealing either to my palate or to my memories. It had become something different, and so into the lab.
Wow.
In March, I took samples from several vintages of London mixture, some kindly sent to me by friends about knowing about the journey I was about to embark on. I smoked each, carefully taking notes, and then began the laborious task of dissecting with magnifying glass and forceps the blends into their component parts. This is an inexact science at best, as after years of melding and aging, it can be quite difficult to discern the different tobaccos. But it would provide me some of the starting points for my own experiments aimed towards recreating a classic, or at least capturing something of its essence. The dissection done, I weighed each little mound of tobacco carefully and began to examine and analyze each. Countless hours were spent on this part of the project, but the insight gained was invaluable. Once I had a good idea of both components and proportions, I began the real work of creating a new blend. Several prototypes were mixed, each carefully assessed, and adjustments were made. This is one of those incremental processes that can consume all available hours. I'm sure you know about that, Nick. And one that never really reveals the end point until you come quite close to it. By the middle of May, I'd narrowed it down to 2 different rough recipes, consisting of percentages of component classes, like Latakia, Oriental, Virginia. From here, I started working on the balance of the components in each group, and what sort of processing would be necessary to accomplish the final goal. More prototypes, more experiments, more little glass jars full of 20 to 50 grams of blended tobaccos. Finally, by the early part of July, I had the one final version pretty much in hand. Small changes would still be required, but all indications were that I was getting quite close. My lab notes from the 10th of July begin, Westminster rocks, and rocks is in capital letters, and a list of people I would send samples to. Then it was something of a waiting game. I blended up a batch of this prototype version and put it aside to see how it would integrate over time. Though previous samples had already given me a pretty good clue, fast forward a bit, I sent Craig the manufacturing details and he put some together for sampling at the Core show in Richmond. The response was very positive. In the interim, I'd made some very small adjustments and finalized everything. I set to work doing the label and getting everything ready for production. And finally, in December of 2006, everything was ready to go and the blend was officially released on January 2nd, 2007. I carried this baby for 9 months, and it's as much a part of me as it would be if it were human. I'm still thrilled with the results. Though not exactly the same as my beloved old pre-Murray's London mixture, it carries that spirit with it and delivers a great deal more than I'd thought possible at the outset. It evokes memories of those days in the early 1980s when I'd wander into Drucker's, grab a tin from the shelf, pull a coin from my pocket and open it, and revel in the richness of that first aroma. It does this in a way that my ancient tins do not. The wondrous changes that they've undergone through the grace of age makes them something different altogether. No less meaningful or important, but not evocative in the same manner. In addition to being a delightful smoke, Westminster has allowed me to revisit and in a way relive the past in a way that no other of my blends have. My old tins of London mixture are magnificent and are part of my little treasure box. One day, if all goes well, a few ancient tins of Westminster will take their place.
Wow. You have to get him on this show. That was amazing.
It wasn't that great, right? And so here's this, this desire to recreate this Dunhill blend that had been around. And this is something that's kind of a unique thing with pipe tobacco that you don't really see so much in the cigar world. That what one company goes defunct or sells the blend, another company picks it up and produces the same thing.
Right.
You don't. I'm sure that happens. Well, we're going to see it with
Nat Sherman.
With Nat Sherman and what Fuego? I can't ever remember.
J
Fuego. Well,
it's not J Fuego. It's so it's Herklotz.
It's Michael Herklotz.
Yep.
So maybe we'll see it that way. But when you see blends passing hands, over 100-year period. And seeing the different iterations of them and, people comparing, oh, this is better. Oh, it's worse. It's not like the original.
Right.
But, I really think this is a really nice English blend.
Yep.
It's very well balanced. It's smooth. It's smoky. It's creamy. Yeah. There's a lot of nuance to it. It's not really, overtly this or that. It's just this nice, pleasant symphony of tastes. It's really, really nice. What are you?
That's like you took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, it's
I
awesome.
do that a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Totally.
It's very smooth, very creamy.
Mm-hmm.
It's very complex. It's so well blended. This has got to be my favorite English blend yet.
Really?
Yeah. This is my first time having this, and man. Like, don't get me wrong, that Quiet Nights is a hell of an English blend. But this, it's up there. It's really nice, complex, like Dave said, creamy, and especially with the Scotch, you get a nice little that smoky accent in there. It's really nice.
Yeah, it goes great with the Oban. And it's funny because you go to the major websites like smokingpipes.com or whatever. Westminster's up there in the top 25, lists of what sells. And yet in the store, this is more of a slow mover.
It is, which is crazy because this is, you know what I mean? This is something that, you know what I mean? I totally understand why it's in the top 20, top 10, if anything. And it's just a fantastic smoke, complex, smooth, very well balanced, especially with the good single malt. It's butter all day.
Would you like it if I sent you a tin of this?
Of course you
I would. Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? After that, I mean, the writing is unbelievable. I mean, he's really, you can just tell the passion and the craftsmanship involved in what he does. It would be amazing. If you ever get him on the show, let me know, because I'd love to.
Sure.
I'd love to watch that one.
If that happens, I might have to. Well, I have to make sure I'm not left speechless. I've been smoking his stuff since he started putting his stuff out around 2000.
Wow.
And some of his blends I've been smoking since they hit the shelves to this day. Cumberland being one. Yeah. Barbary Coast. Haddo's Delight.
Oh man.
Nice.
All great mixtures.
And everyone is different, even though it may have, the same Virginias or Latakia or Perique. Every blend is different, and it's lovely. Everything is just really nice, smooth, complex, full of flavor. It's beautiful.
Now, we do a would you rather question near the end of each show. You up for doing a little would you rather question?
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
You stuck around this.
I'm finishing my smoke here, so it's perfect.
It's funny, Nick usually finishes the cigar before anybody else.
That's true.
But that was me
done.
At the end of the first.
I
enjoyed the bejeebers out of that thing.
It's great smoke.
Smoked the bloody hell out of it. So here's the would you rather question, and everyone's going to answer this.
All right.
But Nick, we'll go with you first.
All right.
Would you rather binge watch Downton Abbey or James Bond?
Oh. I'm going to say, I'm only going to say Downton Abbey because I haven't watched all of them yet. And I'm biased. I haven't watched all of them. So James Bond, I've definitely watched many times.
Yeah.
So you talking older James Bond or?
Well, when I was thinking of the question myself, I was thinking older James Bond.
Sean Connery.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Pierce Brosnan.
I mean, those are good. I mean, yeah, they're so different though. I mean,
they are. Each Bond is really a different guy altogether.
Yeah.
I'm biased on this question too. So
yeah.
That's okay. We appreciate it.
But I actually been meaning to watch all of that. I've only gotten through first season, first 5 of Downton Abbey and the movie I watched. So I got to watch the rest of them.
And I don't know. Is Downton Abbey still in production? Is it something that's a current show?
It's not. They released a movie. I think it's now a couple years ago. Or a year and a half ago, and they just announced recently they're doing a sequel to the movie that's coming out next year, I think.
There you go.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's kind of like HBO. Now that Game of Thrones has been off the air for a few years, they need to do a prequel of it.
I thought they were working on some other something like another series based on Game of Thrones, but like a different timeline of
it's
something like that.
To something like that.
It's based on another one of his books, but it takes place 300 years before the events of Game of Thrones.
Really?
And that's looking to come out in 2022. But if it's anything like Game of Thrones, I just finished watching that. I'd watch.
Did you really?
I binged the first 6 seasons, and then, I don't really like paying for HBO and all those things, and a lot of time. So, but I recently, now that you can kind of, like with Amazon or whatever, you can just kind of add HBO instead of this $150 cable bill. You can watch all their stuff. I said, well, I'll do that for a month or two and finish watching. And it was so awesome. It's good. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see if I keep it. But what would you, Nick, rather do? Would you rather binge watch Downton Abbey or old James Bond?
Old James Bond. I'm a big James Bond fan. I'm big on Sean Connery. I love those old James Bond. It was just so the acting and everything was just so. It was just so crazy. But it was. Well,
I slap you, woman.
Tell me. Consider.
I'll slap you.
Oh, stop it, James. Oh, I love you, James.
You got the point. But yeah, just probably because more so than not is because he's passed away, Sean Connery.
Yeah.
And I think I watched almost a lot of his movies. I was a big Sean Connery fan. I loved him, especially in the James Bond. I started watching the James Bond with him, and then when Pierce Brosnan took over, and then Daniel Craig, and I love everything about that.
No, you skipped Roger Moore.
Roger Moore, my apologies.
Good old Roger Moore.
Good old Roger Moore. But it would, for me, I could probably watch 007 every day. You know what I mean? My family's big in military and police, so for me it's like it's second nature.
One of my favorite scenes with Roger Moore, it was in in Octopussy, when he's like looking at the babe's tattoo, and he says, "What's that tattoo there?" And she goes, "Oh, that's my little Octopussy." And he looks at the camera, and his eyes just kind of open a little bit. Just like, I wasn't expecting that.
No, he was not.
What about you, Dave? Are you Downton Abbey? Or
well, I'd watch Downton Abbey just because I never even heard of it before tonight.
Really? You've never heard of it?
Never heard of it. I'm like, what is this?
That was like all the craze. If you like the drama show, the British drama show in old England,
because I'd watch that because I know nothing of it. So
well, you gotta watch. So when Downton Abbey started coming up on like my feed and stuff like that, like in the early seasons, a lot of people got it mistaken, like the word Downton Abbey. They thought it was Downtown Abbey, and they thought they did a parody with P. Diddy. And I don't know where they filmed it, but they did a parody with P. Diddy, and it was called Downtown Abbey. And P. Diddy was, it was so funny, and that's kind of got me into that, and I started watching. I think I watched like 1 or 2 episodes, and I was just laughing because a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's Downtown Abbey," and then they made a parody with P. Diddy, and I watched it, and I was like, "Oh my god! All right, I gotta watch."
I gotta find that.
Oh my god, it's so hilarious because it's P. Diddy and like the Victorian times, and he's wearing a suit, and he's like talking Brooklyn, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is ridiculous."
I'll have to look.
Yeah, it's like early 1900s. It's based, and it's kind of loosely based on, the actual Highclere. It's basically Highclere, so they just call it Downton Abbey instead of. So the logo is Highclere, the castle.
Yeah.
And it's I think they started 2010.
Yeah.
It's originally aired, but it was a PBS. PBS did it. I think it was a masterpiece series. Really great acting. It's it hit really big, I think, amongst more female populations within the United States, but outside the States, it's I think one of the most viewed. Especially it's crazy in like the China, it's like a huge thing, and I think because of maybe the British influence at one point out there, and it's one of the most I think viewed shows in top like 5 in the world.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It's
Huge hit show.
That's my favorite.
There you go. So, what's the final verdict here on Westminster?
2 thumbs up, my
Two
friend.
thumbs up for you?
I'm gonna have to go and buy this. This is great.
This is a wonderful English blend. It's not too much.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
When I started smoking, I was big into the real heavy Latakias, Dunhill's Nightcap and all that stuff. And I think I burned myself out. I know I've said that on the show before.
You have, yeah.
Yeah, probably more than I probably don't need to say anymore. But this is something I could smoke fairly often. It's just, it's got that nice smokiness to it, but it's not something that's overbearing or, taking out your palate or something like that.
Yeah.
Very smooth.
This is kind of up there with 4th Gen Afternoon. Afternoon blend.
4th Gen's Afternoon blend is fantastic.
It's really good. That blend too is a light English blend where it would be unbelievable after a nice lunch, and you're just kind of sitting back and relaxing for about an hour. This is also that blend that I would go to as well.
Sure. It's got this subtle sweetness. It's awesome. Really well balanced.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for being on the show.
Pleasure, guys.
Especially
great
pipes. I'm so glad that's
it's such a pleasure having you, man.
My pleasure, guys. It's not too often I get to talk about pipes with people, so it's a pleasure to see guys enjoying pipes, man.
We're gonna have to plan out some more episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Just get you on and have a pipe episode.
Yeah, we might have to. We gotta smoke a bowl in person at some point. And a cigar.
Oh yeah,
that would be awesome.
But thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it, and wish you guys continued success with the show, and
thank you.
Safe, and we'll be in contact.
Awesome. You as well.
Yep,
and we'll be back here next week, 8:00. You won't want to miss it.
Absolutely.
Until then, thanks for watching. And that's Not Just Blowing Smoke.
Another day, another smoke, baby.
You've been listening to Not Just Blowing Smoke, the podcast that brings the wealth of knowledge, expertise, and fun of Twins Smoke Shop, New England's premier smoke shop, right to you, wherever you are, whenever you want it. You can find us at our website, notjustblowingsmoke.com, and keep in touch with us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at Not Just Blowing Smoke. Thanks for listening, everybody, and that is Not Just Blowing Smoke.
Rolling with the top down.